Hello everyone, welcome to Cyberblock Entertainment, and today I'm going to be ranking all stages in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and there is a lot, so this could be a long one, so let's just get started. So at number 113 is 75mm. This stage is just impossible to play on. There's just platforming, you can never actually get any fun fights in here. There's just way too many things that can hit you, and a really annoying pattern of projectiles. There is absolutely no safe spot in this whole map. It's so gimmicky, it's such a bad stage. Find me anyone who actually likes this stage, there is no one. And next we have Mushroomy Kingdom. This just has absolutely awful art direction. It looks way too Fallout-y for a Mario stage. It's a moving stage, so half the time you're just running. It's dull to play in. There's absolutely nothing special about this stage. It's boring to look at and just boring to play in. Mario Bros is also awkward to play in, and the crabs and the Koopas one-shot people, so there's not actually much fighting going on here because it's just a race for the crab or the Koopa. And it's just too small and just unfun to fight on when you just get hit by a crab and lose. At 110 is Balloon Fight. Now this is a really awkward stage with the weirdest left and right mechanic where if you get hit out the left stage you'll lose, but you can walk to the left, to the right. There's a fish hazard which is cool, a nice reference, but it's also possible to escape from if you fall. And there's little annoying lightning clouds. It's just not that fun to play in. Now, Willys Castle is an absolutely beautiful design, but apart from that background, it's just a basic flat stage, which would honestly be fine if it wasn't for a little thing called the Yellow Devil, which is such an annoying hazard. It takes up way too much of the stage. It's very hard to dodge. I know it's a reference to the original Yellow Devil, but that was annoying in that game. It did not need to be this bad in this game. You are just going to get hit so many times by him going back and forth. I mean, true, the hazards can be turned off in this game, but this ranking is the stage in its natural form, which is with the hazards on. And Brinstar Depths, it looks cool, but this stage just keeps rotating, which could have been good if it was done right, but it's just so inconsistent with what ledges can be grabbed. And people with better recoveries will always have an advantage in this stage. You can spend a lot of the time not fighting and just trying to get back to the top, and there's even one point where you might be a character who just can't get to the top and you have to wait for the next rotation. It's just not fun. Dreamland is just a battlefield type stage, so it's very forgettable, and there's just so many similar looking Kirby stages in this game. The tree blows wind, it's got a nice retro look, but it's just honestly nothing special. Yoshis Story is another forgettable one. There's just a lot more better Yoshi themed stages in this game, and it's another Battlefield clone, which a lot of the old stages are, unfortunately. So again, nothing special about it. I don't have too much nostalgia for the Yoshi games either, so it doesn't really have much going for it for me personally. Super Happy Tree is another Yoshi one, but this one is slightly different as it does have a more interesting art style, which does make it stand out more than Yoshi's Story, but it still just isn't that memorable to fight on. Skyworld is very unfun to play on. The art style is only one colour template, and its breakable platforms are more annoying than fun. It's a very basic looking design, and it was definitely designed before Kid Icarus Uprising, so it has none of the cool art style from that. And it's just got so much inconsistency in the ledge grabbing and recoveries, it's just not a good stage. Yoshi's Island, again, I just don't really care about the Yoshi stages that much, as there's actually a lot of goddamn Yoshi stages in this game, and they all kind of just blend into one apart from some standouts. This one does have one of the nicer art styles though for Yoshi, and the changing of seasons is a really cool thing about this stage. It also does have some ghosts carrying the platform as well, so that's interesting. Venom looks great in the background, but it's just so strange to fight on due to the X shape of the ship, and not much fun fighting can be done here. The stage never really does anything interesting. There's just a lot more better Star Fox stages to play, and I just don't really like the shape of the ship for fighting on. Hanenbow is a stage that feels like a weird dream that you had about Smash Bros, but no, it's an actual stage and is definitely one of the weirdest. The best way I can describe this stage is it's like if you made a free phone animated background into a stage. It's very hard to tell what you land on in this stage, and electroplankton things change the position of the leaves. I don't know who wanted this stage to return from Brawl, but I'm sure they are happy, but I'm also sure that half the people who play this game don't even know of this stage's existence, and I would have much rather had Jungle Hijinks from Wii U return than this one, or just any other stage. Wrecking Crew is a stage that had a great idea with breaking the whole building down like in Wrecking Crew. This is a fighting game, and I'd much rather fight than focus on the ceiling crushing me every 2 seconds, or getting stuck in barrels. There's just way too many hazards in this, and getting hit by stuff constantly just isn't very fun. 99 Golden Plains is one of the most boring levels in the game. The only thing about this level is you collect coins, and getting 100 gets you powered up. It had the chance to be interesting, but the actual stage, when it eventually moves left, is almost identical, which is just a generic Mario stage, so it's just very meh. Magicant could have been one of my favourite stages. I love the Mother series, and the look of this level is great. The platforms are fun, but the Flying Man is the most annoying NPC enemy in the game. He is so hard to go against, locking onto you and doing insane damage and knockback that it turns a 1v1 into a 2v1 that's just so unbalanced. Turning hazards off makes this stage a lot better, but this ranking is based on the stages as they normally come, so they have the hazards on, and Flying Man is probably one of the worst hazards in the game, beaten maybe only by the Yellow Devil, since at least you do get to move a bit on this stage compared to that one. Pac-Land is one of the uglier looking stages, and I understand that it's what Pac-Land looked like, but it doesn't mean I have to like the look. This also is a moving stage, which again is never my favourite. It can be done well, as higher up ones will show, but my favourite type of stages are the ones that have the most fighting on it, and having to platform just doesn't work that well. I think if people have nostalgia for the Pac-Man games, they like this level a lot more, but I don't have any at all, so it's just low on the list for me. Rainbow Cruise is a moving stage that just feels like a bunch of floating platforms, and design-wise, it's as basic as it gets. This one also has the ultimate sin of any Smash stage, which is when it moves vertical, which nobody enjoys. Yoshi's Island Melee is a simple stage that has turning platforms and a classic Yoshi look. The problem with the stage is the slopes make it really hard to actually launch people off of with smash attacks, so you can just survive a lot on this stage when you shouldn't be surviving. The Great Cave Offensive is a massive stage, and that's part of the problem. It's fun on 8-player Smash, but any other time you get this stage, half the time you get hurt by the fire, and it's just a long platforming stage with not much fighting happening because you're too focused on avoiding the fire just randomly thrown about. It's also another Kirby level, of which there are many, but it just looks like a bunch of stuff together, and it's overall just very messy looking. Smashville has nothing really wrong with it, but it's just kind of boring, especially since there's Town and City, which is a much nicer and detailed background. So yeah, it's not bad, just an Animal Crossing stage. So number 92 is just going to be Town and City, which is honestly just a better Smashville. Living Room is a really cool looking background with the Nintendogs, but the falling blocks is just so annoying to deal with when fighting. This is the case of where the hazard overshadows the fighting, and the best stages are when the hazard can create a new tactic while keeping the fighting fair and balanced. Green Greens is another Wood Kirby stage, a very common thing in this game, but this stage has a more interesting mechanic than the others, with the bomb blocks creating a fun but fair hazard, and the tree also adds a little more fun blowing you into the bombs in this stage. Norfair is a stage that looks so good in the background with the lava, and also the Metroid 2D level in the background. The stage is also big enough to fight on and has some fun hazards, but it also has too many hazards. The lava wave is probably one of the coolest, making every player rush into the shelter, but also sending the stage down into lava and then also having a lava wall appear at the side is just a bit overkill, as there's just too many hazards on the stage. New Pork City is so nice to look at, but instead of feeling like you're fighting in New Pork City, it just feels like you're fighting on random floating platforms outside of New Pork City. The one-shotting monster is a nice callback to Mother 3, but this stage is just way too big and so hard to actually knock people out of, as it's just so big that you just run out of time half the time when you're actually battling on this stage. Palutenas Temple is a stage so massive that even with 8-player Smash it feels too big, which is a shame because there's so many little fun areas on the stage, with a lot of it reminding me of the Subspace Emissary. I wish this stage was greatly reduced in size, like for instance having the top of the temple and the bridge with the waterfall area, but instead it's tons of different areas, so there's just way too much platforming. Thankfully there is a lot of areas where fighting can happen, but it's really hard to knock someone out of this stage. Looks wise, it's definitely a major improvement over what Skyworld looks like, which isn't surprising since Uprising was out by then. Peach's Castle is a really old stage, so it suffers from the random floating parts that feel nothing like fighting on Peach's Castle, The castle is actually just a 2D background and the rest of the stage is just a mess up with different parts. It's not unfun and there isn't any annoying hazards, it's just an older stage, so like most of the older ones, there isn't anything special or memorable about them. Kongo Jungle is a perfectly fine stage that is fun to play on. Its reason for ranking so low though, to be honest, there's just so many stages in this game that I don't even know if this counts as a low one because there's just so many better Donkey Kong levels and they all have a similar layout. I do love the sunset look of this level though, it actually sort of looks like the Lion King Broadway play, and the barrel at the bottom is a fun gameplay mechanic. It's just very simple compared to a lot of other stages. Frigate Orpheon has a cool background and really interesting gameplay mechanic of switching the stage, catching players unaware, but apart from this, it's just a really boring to look at stage. It's just a flat stage with some moving parts, and since you fight in the stage and not the background, it's not the best. The switch in the stage definitely carries this, and it's a lot of fun, but as a stage, it's just not the best. Duck Hunt is a nice looking stage that I'm sure people who have nostalgia for Duck Hunt really enjoy. I don't, however, so it's just a nice flat stage with the trees offering some difference in playstyle, I guess. It's nice to look at, and it's one of the best retro looking stages, but the retro ones for me just aren't my favourite since it's all just personal preference, I don't really have nostalgia for them. Corneria is a stage set on Star Fox's Great Fox. The players can be damaged by lasers and from R-Wings, and also the massive cannon at the front of the ship. The background isn't anything special, just grassy hills and mountains. It's a fun stage to fight on, and at this part in the ranking there's not really any more bad stages, so it just really depends on what gaming franchise you prefer is going to be your favourite stage. So at 81, number 80 and 79 is in the order Small Battlefield, Big Battlefield, and Battlefield. Battlefield is just the classic Smash Bros. Stage. It's fundamentally perfect, honestly. The classic floating platforms, and it does its job. There's not really much else to say about it, it's just a perfect stage, so technically it should be number 1, but this is a personal preference of what my favourite stage is, so technically this is the perfect stage, but I just thought it would be good to put here all 3 of them. Big Battlefield is obviously for 8 player, but my favourite is just the classic Battlefield out of the Battlefields. At 78 is Princess Peach's Castle. This is a much better stage for Princess Peach's Castle since you're actually on the castle. The big bullet bill coming in is a fun little mechanic. It's just a good stage to fight on, honestly. Brinstar is one of the older stages, but it still holds up. It is a small stage, but the hazards are fair this time with the acid floor, but you can easily dodge it if you are just high up enough. The fighting is fun, you get a lot of it on the stage, the background is interesting, it really fits the Metroid feel. It's definitely the best Metroid stage. Mario Galaxy is definitely one of the more interesting stages with the actual gravity mechanic. It's quite hard to knock people out on this as the center of gravity always brings you back, but it is from Mario Galaxy, which is one of the best games ever, so it just looks amazing. And it is different to fight on and an interesting difference in gameplay compared to other stages. Mute City Snes is a really good looking retro stage. It is kind of hard to fight on since it is only 2 platforms, but they are big enough compared to other stages where they're just too small. The background is incredible in this one, just being F-Zero cars, beautiful vibrant colours. It's definitely a good stage to play on if you like F-Zero. Dreamland Game Boy is one of my favourite retro stages, and that's because it does moving stages pretty much perfectly. It moves and then it stops, letting you play on an actual stage instead of just being constantly moving. That is the best way to do those kind of stages. Each area is different to fight on. There's sometimes cliffs, there's sometimes enemies. I don't really care too much about Kirby, but I can admit this is a fun stage to play on. Shadow Moses Island is the Metal Gear stage, and it does a good job representing the franchise. The whole spotlight with the exclamation mark is cool. Obviously the music's great in it, but the music's great in every single stage in this one. But I just wanted there to be maybe something with the hazard with the mech in the background, but it's still a good stage at representing Metal Gear. Saffron City is one of the older stages that I think has aged very well when they decided to do fighting on top of buildings. Saffron City looks pretty good, and they kept with the classic look. I do like the little hazard of the random Pokemon coming out and hitting you as well with its different attacks. Just a really nice Pokemon stage. Spiral Mountain is the DLC stage for Banjo and Kazooie, and I do like the mechanic here where the whole stage turns and it changes the layout. It's not too drastic though. The background does look great, though I do almost wish they actually went for the classic Banjo look, but obviously the updated look fits most Smash. It's a good stage to fight on. I do wish there was more interesting locations when the stage turned, like being able to walk across the bridge for instance. But it's still just a good stage to fight on. Wii Fit Studio is a completely flat stage that has a really nice mirror background where you can see inside the Wii Fit Studio obviously, and the balance boards being the platforms. Just a nice nostalgic thing for people who played Wii Fit. And I really like the colour scheme in this one. I think the colour choice was great for the design of the stage. WarioWare Inc. is a really interesting stage for me. Not because of the gameplay mechanic, but because this used to be one of my favourite stages in Brawl. I still really like the stage, but I think I've played it too much now that the minigames just aren't that fun for me anymore. Obviously, if you're first playing this stage, the minigames are really cool and they all add the bonuses if you fail them or pass them, but I played this stage so much as a kid that I think I've overplayed it, so it was lower than I expected when I was going to make this ranking. Lylat Cruise is my favourite Star Fox stage, in which it's the best one to fight on because the stage isn't split up, it's just a nice flat stage with the 3 platforms, but the design of the ship looks awesome and the space in the background, just a beautiful background, really great stage to play on, and it's fair with not too many hazards at all. Halberd is the stage that reminds me of Brawl the most. It's such a tonally different thing for Kirby, which is so nice to see when there's way too many Kirby levels that all feel the same. It looks great, it's a beautiful background with the halberd, the hazards are really fair as well with the cannon, the laser, showing you when they're going to hit you so you can actually dodge them. Fun stage, lots of fighting and hazards to watch out for. Perfect formula. Hyrule Castle is a stage that in my opinion has aged really well for an old one. They kept with the original look, and I think that was a great idea because it just works here. And the hazard is really fun with the tornado sucking you up and shooting you up through the stage. And it's just a lot of room to fight on here, and it's a really good one. Kongo Falls is a great Donkey Kong stage. The waterfall in the background with the tide is really beautiful to look at, and actually plays into the waterfall being not really the hazard, it's a background hazard, but I guess you're falling down a waterfall, which is cool. Obviously with the Donkey Kong stage, it has a barrel at the bottom which will shoot you in a random direction, and there's plenty of room to fight on even though it does look small, but there is actually a lot of room to fight on. Mushroomy Kingdom 2 represents Super Mario Bros. 2 and does a great job at that. It's a pretty simple stage, but I do also like the waterfall with the logs falling down. Really nice thematically to just play on, and there is Birdo also shooting the egg. Just a really great stage. Your H circuit represents Mario Kart, and it has one of the funnest hazards here with the cars and the racers actually being the hazard. They do actually use this in F-Zero a lot on those stages, but those cars are way too fast. In this you can actually see them coming and have time to dodge them. There is plenty of room to fight on, and it's just a really nice looking background. Unova Pokemon League is one of the darker Pokemon stages, and it also has the random Pokemon in the background, being the hazard. It's pretty much a battlefield clone in a way, even though it does have the little slopes that come in, but the stage constantly changes with the Pokemon, so it's definitely more interesting than the other ones, and I do enjoy it quite a bit. The Paper Mario stage in Smash Ultimate is so creative. This stage is constantly changing, and it always has a lot of room to fight on, even with the big Bowser Gate, which will crunch you. Pirate Ship being my favourite transformation. I just love the more creative stages that take you to multiple different stages. They're one of my favourites. 3D World is a travelling stage that feels like you're on a theme park ride, especially when it gets to the pillars shooting up and dodging them. There's rotating blocks, there's so many gameplay elements here, it's a lot of fun to fight on. Can be a bit annoying sometimes if you're not the best at platforming due to rotating blocks, which isn't normally people's favourite, but I think it's fair here and it works here. Yeah, it's a travelling stage from left to right. It doesn't really stop, and sometimes it goes in every direction, but I think it's slow enough that it's actually fun to fight on. Suzaku Castle is a Smash stage that looks so nice in the background representing Street Fighter. I think this stage is really fun when you play Ryu or Ken, Other characters, it can be a bit small. The right side of the platform is definitely bigger and much more fun to fight on than going to the left, where it's just the ladder and the really tiny platform, but stage looks absolutely amazing, and it can be really fun when you have less people fighting them. This is a more 1v1 stage than a 4-player or 8-player. 8-player would be insane, that'd be just tiny. Mario Circuit is the stage that represents Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Its background really fits with the zero gravity feel, and there's some pretty fun hazards when the stage eventually comes into play. Instead of being the background, actually comes into the foreground, and you can get smashed into it or knock off it and fall to your death. Pilot Wings starts off with you flying off the retro Pilot Wings background before going through Woohoo Island, one of my favourite locations in gaming. It's a pretty good stage. The plane does offer a unique fighting ground, and there's a lot of room for actually fighting it. Prism Tower is a Pokemon stage that's set in Luminous City, which is kind of like Paris. It's a moving stage, so you actually go up the tower. There's really fun platform areas to fight on here, and the background looks incredible as always. Arena Ferox is a great 1v1 stage from Fire Emblem. The stage constantly changing, creating fun platforms to fight on. And it's just a great one if you want to have quick 1v1 smash fights. PictoChat 2 is a nice reference to PictoChat, where the drawings actually become the stage. It's very creative, and I do love how creative a lot of the stages are in this game, with this one being one of the best ones for creativity. Gamer has a really cool mechanic of the mother catching you playing at night. If you're seen in her evil rays of death, you will be killed. So you have to hide in the stage while fighting. It offers different strategy compared to a lot of other stages. Flat Zone X is a great nostalgia trip for people who use the Game & Watch. Not many people I know did, but it's still a great stage nonetheless, with the whole thing changing based on the Game & Watch game, with the hazards being things from the various Game & Watch games. Jungle Japes is a great Donkey Kong stage where you fight on 3 platforms, with below you rushing water comes, and if you fall in there you have a small chance of survival, but you can actually survive, which makes it a really fun stage. And it's also fun to knock people in and watch them get washed away. Summit is set on an iceberg in Ice Climbers, though it doesn't really play anything like Ice Climbers, which is thankful because I don't actually like the Ice Climbers game. But they did a great job here with actually making an Ice Climbers stage, with the iceberg going down slopes, picking up speed, the water and the ice coming around, and if you fall in, there's actually a fish that will come and kill you pretty instantly, and icicles also fall, adding a little more hazard. Fountain of Dreams is a Battlefield clone, but it really just looks really nice. Like, there isn't much else to it, it just looks really, really beautiful. So it's pretty high up just for looks alone, which I guess is contradicting what I've said, but it's my list and I think it looks really nice. Colosseum looks like you're fighting in the actual Roman Colosseum, and it's a Fire Emblem stage. And this is great for many players. I think it's one of the stages that fits almost all players just perfectly. And it transforms a bit, adding more platforms for more strategy. A great stage to play on. Mushroom Kingdom U is another very creative Mario stage, with it changing to many different types of stages here. Nabbit can grab you and send you flying off the stage. And there's a lot of hazards to watch out for, but also a lot of fighting can happen on this stage. Spear Pillar is one of the coolest Pokemon stages, look-wise and gameplay-wise, with the legendary Pokemon that appear, Dialga and Palkia, absolutely messing this stage up, firing lasers, reversing controls. There is so much to look out here for, and you're always surprised. Port Town Aero Drive gives you the most sense of speed in a Smash Bros. Stage ever. This is such a fast-moving background, and when you hit that road at full speed, it looks like it hurts so bad. Sometimes you'll fall, sometimes you'll bounce back up. You're always going to be in high tension when you're fighting on this stage. Windy Hill Zone is a really strange stage for how good it is from a game that is actually pretty bad, but they really did a great job with this stage, having a lot of room to fight on, beautiful look, and also a nice little windmill thing that comes up. Umbra Clock Tower gives you that high tension feeling of falling through the air, and the platforms fall with you, making you jump on them, but sometimes they'll go up and you'll go right down. There's a lot to love about this stage. It looks amazing, and it's from Bayonetta, which is always cool. Spring Stadium is a DLC stage that really surprised me for how much I like this one. because I don't care about arms at all, but this stage was a really great one to fight on. Looking like the arms stage, also a nice battlefield type stage, but with really cool gameplay mechanics of spring jumps, jump pads which makes you jump really high, and also something you might not realize is you can actually hit the top of the stage, it isn't the background, and it can actually save you, which is really cool. Great Plateau Tower, it represents Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it does a great job of showing the expansiveness of Hyrule in the background, and hitting down the tower is a really fun gameplay mechanic, but it's just a really good stage to fight on since there isn't too many hazards here, so you just get a lot of fighting in. Moray Towers represents Splatoon, and it's a really unique one because it doesn't go down, it goes right zigzaggy, so you have to walk up it. It's really interesting one to fight on, honestly. It looks awesome as always. The bright colours with the paint, and you can do a lot of cool things with character moves in this one because of the difference in mobility going up and down and diagonal wise. Mushroom Kingdom is a really great looking classic Mario stages with a few surprises. The warp pipes are great fun, with some sending you down a cliff which you can recover from, and some just send you up to another part of the stage. It's really fun to mess around on, and a lot of fighting can happen because it's a nice decent sized stage. Luigis Mansion is a very detailed looking stage, and you can actually break the mansion completely down, which is such a cool mechanic. And it also does eventually get built up, so if you do accidentally destroy it, it will come back. It's just a great stage representing Luigi's Mansion. Tortoma Island is my favourite Animal Crossing stage because it's actually different than the first Animal Crossing stage. It's set on a beautiful island, there's the shark in the water. A lot of stages actually have water, which is fun because you actually drown, which is a bit morbid, but it's better than falling half the time because you can actually recover from drowning easier in this. Street Pass Quest is a great little thing from the 3DS, which was the Street Pass Quest game, and it's a really great stage with a lot of fun things happening. The dragon comes down and actually breaks one of the stages down, and the chain can be hit back and forth and you can go on top of it and swing about. There's a lot of fun to be had in this one. Super Mario Maker is a really creative stage where the stage is actually getting built and changed while you're playing it, changing up the strategy as you play, making every fight really enjoyable and strategic. New Donk City Hall represents Super Mario Odyssey and is a transforming stage, also an on-rail stage, where you move up the hall. It's a really beautiful looking one, obviously being New Donk City, which looks awesome. I do wish, however, for a Mario Odyssey stage they used the transforming to all the different Odyssey worlds, but New Donk City Hall is what we got, and I'm happy with it. Agrasso's Altar is a stage that is so hard to pronounce, but it's also a really beautiful looking DLC stage representing Dragon Quest. It showcases many different locations from Dragon Quest and has floating flying platforms. For a little fun mechanic, there is also mimic chests or chests that appear on one of the floating platforms that can sometimes be an item, or sometimes be the mimics that will attack you. Tomodachi Life is a really interesting set stage, being the Tomodachi apartment, where you can fight on the roof and go into all the individual rooms, and as another fun mechanic, the Miis you create will randomly appear. Castle Siege is one of the OG Brawl Fire Emblem stages that was one of my favourites, where it goes transforming crazy from the top of the siege right down into the midst of the castle, right down to right below the castle with lava and rocks. It's always a fun stage to play on. Spirit Train is Legend of Zelda stage, where you're on the moving train and the random other train at the front will appear, creating a new hazard from drills to just another carriage, and you better hope not to fall on the track because you will get knocked out pretty quick. Big Blue is another unique stage to play on from F-Zero, featuring you jumping and battling on the actual F-Zero cars. This is another fun one where if you fall you will get sucked under the cars and may have a chance to escape or may just get run over. Fourside is a beautiful looking stage for Earthbound's Fourside, battling on top of buildings, and a UFO will randomly appear which lets you have another stage to fight on. There is a lot of fighting that can happen here. Skyloft is from Legend of Zelda and is a transforming traveling stage where you travel through all the various parts of Skyloft, offering more places to fight and lots of different stages to fight on. Reset Bomb Forest represents Kid Icarus Uprising and is a transforming stage that gets a really crazy layout, which is one of the most unique layouts to fight on in the game, honestly. Temple is an absolute classic stage with some really funny hitboxes, especially in the little cave area. But this stage is massive, and it is so much fun to play on with a lot of people. I have played in this stage a lot though. It used to be down near my top 10, but since overplaying it from Brawl, it just isn't as special to me anymore, but it's still a great time to play on. Gerudo Valley is another Legend of Zelda stage, similar to a bridge fighting stage that I will be mentioning in the future. This one has you fighting in said Gerudo Valley, but the witches come and actually randomly affect one of the stages and break the bridge. It's a lot of fighting to have, and the strategy does change when they either ice or burn the stage. Really fun one. King of Fighters Stadium is a DLC stage that is simple yet so effective. It's just a beautiful looking stadium with a really interesting gameplay mechanic of actually having to break through the invisible glass at the edge of the stage to smash your opponent out of, which requires a lot of hits and a beautiful animation of actually breaking through the glass. Delphino Plaza is a traveling stage from one of my favorite locations in a Mario game or any video game, being Delphino Plaza. You go on the beach, in the actual plaza, on the hills. There's a lot of variety here, and it's a really great one. Gaur Plane is from Xenoblade 1, and this stage is pretty big, with a lot of fighting happening. There's a bit of platform to be done at the bottom, which I'm not a fan of, but the actual top of the stage is really fun to fight on, having the bridge-like stage, which is my favourite type of stages. The boss here can sometimes be annoying though, but the stage is just so nice to look at and so beautifully designed. Kalos Pokemon stage is a stage that will always surprise you, an absolutely beautiful church-looking background. You fight on a relatively big stage actually, but the hazards here are some of the funnest, having you have to dodge the floor as it turns into a tidal wave. Swords come down, fire shoots up. It's always a surprise here, and it's an absolutely great stage. Pokemon Stadium 1 is an absolutely classic stage that has aged very well for one of the best transformations, where each stadium changes into one of the Pokemon types, which offer up a completely different gameplay mechanic, my favourite being the windmills that let you keep floating up. Draculas Castle is one of the darkest looking stages, and it fits the tone absolutely perfectly. The monsters in the background are always fun to have, and randomly Dracula will appear as a boss, which is a great hazard because it isn't always, so it's a nice... Final Destination is an absolutely classic 1v1 stage, which looked great in Ultimate. It's a complete flat stage, but the background is always absolutely crazy. Unfortunately, some of the DLC stages have actually overshadowed this for me, but it's still a great one that you should, if you don't have the DLC, is always great for 1v1s. Cloud Sea of Alrest is the newest DLC stage, and it's pretty simple in just being a nice flat stage with an absolutely stunning background. The Titan you're on, Gramps, makes comments while fighting, and he actually will sometimes change his layout of the stage because he moves his head sometimes up to make a slope, sometimes completely around to make a hazard of actually falling off. And I'm actually playing through Xenoblade 2 Chronicles right now in my own time and having a blast with it, so maybe it's a bit up higher because of that. Minecraft World is an absolutely perfect representation of Minecraft, having each one being a different random layout, and also including the breakable blocks. The background has so much detail going on with the villagers living their lives. It's the absolute best job they could have done for making a Minecraft stage in this game. Great Bay Stage is a great Legend of Zelda stage, set in the Majora's Mask world, with the turtle being a stage that will actually sink and swim away, Tingle's balloon you can jump off of, and there's also the bit underneath where you are very likely to drown. Northern Cave is the Final Fantasy DLC stage, and this has completely replaced my 1v1's Final Destination, because this stage background is the best out of any stage. There is so much going on with the whole Earth's core and the end of Final Fantasy. The green glowing effects, it's just constantly changing, and it's stunning to look at, and it's really fun to play on as well, having the battlefield type layout. Boxing Ring is just a fantastic idea for a stage that works so well. You feel so awesome fighting someone on the stage, especially 1v1s in a boxing ring. The stages, the fireworks, the flare, and you can also knock the light down if you get up by jumping on the ropes, which will spring you up. It's just such a fun and creative stage. Pokemon Stadium 2 takes everything great about Pokemon Stadium 1 and improves it. The stage transitions are just so much more elaborate. There's so much fun to be had in this, and it just improves on everything that Pokemon Stadium 1 did, which is already a fantastic stage. Garden of Hope represents Pikmin 3, one of my favorite franchises, so this stage for me is always going to be high up just for being from Pikmin. But it has a lot of great mechanics with the crab coming in, knocking you up, the little Pikmin building up the stick, and also the Pikmin building the shelter that you can break and sometimes hide in. The platforms, if you put too much weight on them, they sink. There's a lot of fun things to do in this one. Midgar is a stage that tricks you at the start by just looking like a Battlefield clone, but obviously Midgar in the background. But once those materia get summoned, you have some crazy stuff going on. Each summon drastically changes the stage, either shooting lightning down or sometimes take you out of Midgar on a crazy water ride. And there's also all the materia to power up your fighter. A lot of fun gameplay mechanics and a lot of fun fighting happening on this one. On it is a great stage if you don't like falling because you're just on flat ground, and the only real hazard is the car that comes, which is just such a fun one to watch out for the car that will hit into you. There's some great little platform in this one as well that is fair since there's no ledges. You can knock down the store signs. You can only be knocked left, right or vertical, and it just looks great and it's on it from Earthbound, so it's always going to be high up. Woohoo Island is one of my favorite locations in the game, and it looks great here. It's also the traveling and transitioning stage, so it will change into various things from Wii Fit Plus and Wii Sports Resort. You'll recognize many locations here, battling on top of Volcano, on the disc throwing part, the sword fighting part. There's just so much nostalgic greatness here, and I love this one. Distant Planet was my favorite stage from Brawl, and it's great still. Fighting on top of the leaves with the bulb orb that comes in, and you can actually throw your opponent into it to be eaten. Picking up the pellet and throwing them at fighters, and also the weather changes affecting the stage and making the water fall down, which will cause you to slip. It's a great one. Pirate Ship is a really fun stage to play on, with so many little things happening. The ship gets attacked, the King of Red Lions appears to be another little stage to fight on, a cannonball will hit you and send you knocking back, and the ship will sometimes go onto a rocky island. The bottom of the ship is also a KO point, and sometimes a storm will appear, sucking the ship up into the air. It's just so fun, so many fun things happen while you're fighting on this stage. Garreg Mach Monastery is the best DLC stage. From Fire Emblem, you start right in the market. Great fighting stage because there's just so much room to fight on. It then transitions up into this beautiful overview of the whole Fire Emblem Three Houses overmap before sucking you right back into the actual monastery, which takes the stage mechanic from the boxing ring of knocking down the chandeliers before going through many other parts of the monastery, the bridge outside. There's just so much fun locations in this, and every location is fun in this stage. It is my favorite DLC stage and my favorite transition and transforming stage. So finally at number 1, because there is so many stages in this game, it is a hard one to rank all of these, and I finally came to the conclusion that my favorite stage in all of Smash Bros is Bridge of Eldin. This stage is just so epic to fight on. A beautiful background with the castle from Twilight Princess. You're just fighting on a massive bridge. The 1v1 potential here is the best. And then later on, the stage actually gets blown up by a bomb, changing the whole tactic, making you think, also making falling an actual hazard here. It then gets repaired, so if you don't like that, you get back to the flat stage, getting rid of death by falling. This stage is just perfection. So thank you for watching my ranking of every single Smash stage. There is a lot of stages in this game, and majority of them are amazing. Let me know your opinions below. I definitely want to know what your favorite is, because I'm sure this will be very different opinions for these stages, because everyone I spoke to, my friends, they will have different opinions. It's just mad how different the opinions are for this one. So let me know in the comments below. Also let me know in the comments other ranking videos you want to see. This could be anything from characters, stages, levels, and also from what games you want them to be on. But as always, this has been Skyworld Entertainment. Thank you so much for watching.